a fight broke out between two of them. Only 5 weeks into a shared citizenship, and the Americans were already encroaching too much. Yes, there were 2 French songs played to each English one, but the Americans took too long to finish a turn. Unlike the French quadrilles that started 8 dancers at a time, in the American set dances, each couple went one by one. Their procession dragged on past the length of the music. Someone called for another English song, and a French Creole struck the speaker. An officer grabbed the Creole. The head of the provisional government, William C. Claiborne, saw the conflict brewing. He couldn't speak French or Spanish. His words of calm were empty. Several dozen men brawled in the ballroom. Louisiana had just become part of this nation, and with that, the United States of America had doubled in size. But the local dancers were taking part in a negotiation that had an old root. It was called in some circles the stately quadrille. As in the dance, the empires circled around each other, entering and exiting alliances, all while vying for control of land that had been conquered and claimed far away from their mother countries. New Orleans was a perfect example. It had been French, then Spanish, then French again, and now American. That night in New Orleans was 3 centuries after Europeans had arrived in the Americas. Generations into the process of settlement and conquest, slavery and incorporation, it was still contested territory. The Africans danced quadrilles too, out of doors, in Congo Square on Sundays, and they did the kalenda, hips shimmying until they touched a partner's, then easing back in unison. They did the bambula in a round. The women's head ties were as bright as they could be. Some hawked kala and popcorn. Some brought word of the revolution in Haiti. They were Virginians, Bajans, Bini, Edo, and Congo, and native Orleanians. They danced to fiddles, on beat. On other days they danced to flogs, jumping away from searing pain. The Americans, white people, stood around the perimeter and watched and learned. A flock of black skimmers might have flown over the slave pens that night, or rested there, callow jailbirds. How could they know their presence taunted, that the people inside wished they could fly, or that the nights they were up, bodies rubbed with beef tallow, hair painted to gleaming black, faces scrubbed, had the most terrible foreboding. Sail tomorrow. In 1839, Henry Bibb, with his wife and child, lived in a slave pen. Henry had what was called drapetomania, the psychiatric condition of repeatedly running away to freedom. The Bibbs were brought to New Orleans to be auctioned off, but there wasn't much interest from buyers. The trader, eager to be done with them, gave Henry a decent coat and allowed him to roam the streets, looking for someone to purchase him and his family. He approached a man and asked, "Do you need a slave?" And mistaking Henry for one of those mixed-race Creoles with a tinge of blackness but the privilege of property, the man replied, "Do you have one for sale?" Later, though, a better judge of Henry's station asked Henry in response, "Are you for sale?" He and his family made it out of the slave pens, together, and onto a plantation. A marginally better, if still terrible, fate. But a momentary relief turned disastrous. Deemed superior among slaves, Henry was bought to be an arm of the master. And when the master told Henry to rub salt brine into the torn, bleeding back of a whipped woman, she screamed. Henry wept. The point. I wish people wouldn't truncate history into romance.